turn right?
We found out with him at 14 weeks.
Yeah.
The girls we didn't find out, and well, I'm trying to think if no, we didn't. With Emma Kate, we were like following every rule. I know, so nasty. Following every rule, and so she was like, no, we're not doing another ultrasound until 20 weeks. So we waited all the way to 20. And then with Mal and Grace, I think we found out at 18. But then we had a 3D ultrasound later, so my parents could come.
But I'm kind of flustered. Her doctors, I don't know, seems to be putting more fear in them than I think. I mean, everything is fine.
Yeah.
But she's 38.
Right.
And they're like, do we need to do all this genetic testing? And they're like, no, it will make no difference. They said it's not going to make any difference. We're not going to anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was like. If I found out something, first off, it wouldn't make a difference, except that I would be scared the rest of my pregnancy.
Yeah.
I don't need to do that to myself. So.
You ask them every time they go, y'all sure you don't want to?
Okay.
Hey. And I told her, I said, this is the norm. More and more women are having them later in life.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
When it was my generation, we had them before we were 25.
Yeah.
Now most women, they're waiting.
Well, a lot of women are waiting until after 30 to get married.
Yeah.
My mom was 40 when she had me, and so they did an amniocentesis. I think, like her doctor required it or something because she was 39. She was 38. Yeah. And now they don't even do they don't do pictures and stuff. But you can just get genetics from a blood test. But we didn't. I just refused all of that. It wouldn't have made a difference.
That's what they said. It doesn't make.
Who's her? Where does she go? Do you know?
She's in Nashville.
Well, I was in Nashville with Emma Kate. So
I know she's going to have it at St.
Thomas, Midtown.
One of them. Is there more than one St.?
Just St. Thomas.
Yeah.
But there's multiple St. Thomases though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I delivered. It was a Baptist at that time, but St. Thomas Midtown.
Elijah was born at St. Thomas Rutherford.
I'll find out. Oh boy.
I don't think she'll be in that one though.
I don't know where they live. Well, she said Nashville, so let's see. We drove. The hospital's 40. doctor was like, oh, it was so funny. They took they tested my blood pressure right in the middle of the church. My blood pressure, and the doctor was like, why don't you just keep it?
Hey, Anna.
And she was
Hey.
pregnant this morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you? How's the house?
That's not how that works.
That's just the problem.
And so,
I'm trying to sign up before all the stuff get away.
We could go do that.
And I lost my sister in the process. I don't know why she walked off and didn't know where she was going. Let me see if she's in the auditorium.
Is this her? Carolyn! Your sister's in...
Oh! I don't know why she walked off and didn't know where she was going. Oh, all right, lady.
Carolyn, do you mind if I do some announcements from Karen?
I'm sorry.
Karen wanted some announcements made. Is that okay if I do that? I was gonna wait
You're so
on
cute. I love that scarf.
Alright guys, Karen isn't here, but she wanted y'all to know that she's trying to get her ticket list for White Christmas musical together. She has 41 people on the list. Tickets are $15, $10 for seniors over 65 or students, but she needs to know today if you want to go. You can Venmo her money, but this is the way it's supposed to go. We'll eat lunch. Elisa now will drive us in the church bus. The play is at 2, and then we'll come back for Christmas-like refreshments before the evening service. So, she just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that today was the deadline for that. And then the homemade Christmas ornament party is Thursday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. Anyone who needs to participate or wants to participate needs 3 ornaments, and they need to be wrapped, and they also need to bring a finger food or a party food.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the Christmas?
Repeat.
The ornament thing.
Ornament is December 2nd, Thursday night at 6 p.m. You need to bring 3 ornaments, and they need to be wrapped, and then a party finger food
Okay,
as well.
let me see if I'm off that day. So I know whether to sign
And
up.
Harley Ray or Harley Barker is who you need to see for money for the White Christmas ticket. But it has to be today.
What's the date of the one?
The White Christmas is, I do not know. 14th, I think. Wait, hold on.
12?
December 12th, because it is on a Sunday. Yes, December 12th.
If we've already told her, do we need to tell her again?
No, and Harley has the list, so.
But we just need to pay her now, right?
And make sure your name's on the list, if you've already told her.
Okay. And Harley is a point of contact?
Yes, for the money right now,
Okay.
today.
Okay, I'm on call on the 2nd, so I can't do the ornament thing. Cause you never know when you gotta go. All right. So, I'm excited this morning. Well, that too, but. I'm excited because Billy asked me to teach the next quarter. Yay for me! I'm so excited. Because I was thinking, I got to finish this lesson. I got to finish this lesson today for sure. Because here again, soliciting prayers again. My son's supposed to have his surgery on November the 15th. Now, though the insurance company hadn't said anything. He has 2 follow-up appointments already scheduled, and he did the only stipulation last time was 21 days of antibiotics. He had that. And they scheduled the surgery for a week after that to make sure, that there would be no stuff. So, next Sunday, Lord willing, at 5:20 in the morning, I'll be leaving for Washington. I'm flying to Washington. He lives in Virginia, 5 minutes away. But, Wanda, can you teach class next week, please? Okay. And it really grieved me. I said, Colleen, it's only 3 more weeks, and I got to go, and I can't be there. I'm happy, because it's a lot of stuff and these things. I wonder where that child went. I know she knows where she's supposed to be now. But anyway, so I'm requesting prayers for my sister as she traveled back to Greenville after service today, and myself, that the Lord bless me to, first of all, not have my flight canceled. They're canceling so many flights that the Lord will bless me to get there and back, without any kind of delays or issues. Because I'm leaving on Sunday and his surgery is scheduled on Monday. And I'm going with American, and they have canceled so many flights, out of Memphis. So I just pray that I will be able to be there, for his procedure. And if not, you'll just have to find somebody to go with him, because you got to have somebody with him. But I want to be that somebody. Okay. So any prayers for anyone else? We know Nancy. We want to pray for Nancy, who's still recuperating. We want to pray for, whose dad died? Tina, them? Their father died. We want to pray for them. And fittingly, we are getting us some helpful hints and tools to help us to help them through this grieving loss and grief process. And anybody else that we can think of?
I talked to Amanda this week. Her youngest son had to spend the day in the ER Monday. They found out he has I can't think of what it's called, but his airway shrinks. And they had to call 911 because he couldn't breathe, and they spent all day in the ER. But he's doing okay now. And then she had another little boy get sick. So they've been, since the 1st of September, they have constantly had somebody seriously sick in their house.
But he didn't have to get a trach or anything. Okay, so that's good. He had a narrowing, but they were able to resolve that issue undoubtedly. So hopefully it was just swelling from inflammation or something. They didn't have to give him a trach. That's the blessing.
And also, my family and my parents were all going to the ARC this week. My kids don't know yet, so I don't think anything. But my parents are going before us, and it always makes me nervous because they're almost 80 and they're driving their camper for 7 hours. So really anxious about them going, and then us going separate. And River's around fever Friday, so making sure that all of us are going to stay well.
To the ARCs? Ozarks?
The
ARC encounter?
Oh.
Yeah, the ARC exhibit.
Oh, okay. See, I'm not familiar with that. Okay. That is nice. I mean, you let me loose in a camper at any age, I would require a lot of practice. Big old thing, I'd be scared. Okay, I'm sorry. You had a procedure done on your back? Oh, okay, so we have to pray for Geraldine. Saul, the update on Saul.
Saul doing better than I am. He's laying up in the bed making requests. He finally answered the phone when I called the other day. He said, well, you had the procedure, the surgery. I said, yeah. Well, you coming out here? I said, no. No. I mean, but Jordan took him some food this week.
Well, good.
And he don't know.
Well, he's a man. He just thinks we're supposed to take a licking and keep on kicking. Like that is just funny.
So you're on your way. No.
Okay, so can we?
Did it help?
Well, I had it Friday, so it seemed like it's helping, but then you know how that is. I'm hurting again today, so it's gonna be all right.
But you are resting and not overdoing it.
I didn't go see him, so that was a good for me to be empty in the urinal.
Oh, and on Monday of this week, I was minding my own business this time. You know, I fell and broke my wrist. I fell out of a chair that time, so that was my fault. But I was minding my own business, and the guy with the dietetics cart came down the hall and didn't see me and knocked me over. Oh, no! So I left work on crutches on Monday. It's a sprain. I have to go back tomorrow. It is, perpetually swollen. It won't go down. But it could have been much worse, So one of my coworkers, Cynthia, she is such a stinker. She sent me a picture of somebody holding bubble wrap. She told me when I came back to work she was going to wrap me up for my own protection. But y'all pray that because every day, I only missed one day from work other than my days off. But, at the end of every day, it's really swollen. So y'all pray that, that this thing don't hinder me and slow me down. Okay, so who want to do our prayer this morning? Remember all those that we've requested prayer for. A volunteer. For this privilege of praying to our Father. Okay, Wanda.
Most kind, gracious, loving Father, creator of the universe, the giver of every good and perfect gift, we come thanking you this morning filled with joy and thanksgiving in our hearts, not only for just being able to assemble together and worship you this day, but to be in the company of our sisters. We come thanking you so much for all those who have requested prayers today. We're just glad that they're able to express their needs. And we also come asking you to honor their petitions. Be with Carol and her sister who is visiting with us today. And we also pray for her health and the safety of her son, that the trip might be successful, the surgery will be successful. We come praying for Sister Saul, and we're praying for Geraldine that she will recuperate from her surgery that she's had this week. Be with her, give her the strength to continue to be there, not only just to meet her own needs, but to support her husband. We thank you so much for Heather, who's going to take a trip, and for family, and we hope that all is well with that planned weekend. May everything turn out to be successful. We continue to pray a special prayer on behalf of Nancy. We know that she's been through a lot, chemo, surgery, and facing radiation treatment. Be with her, be with her husband, that he will continue to be healthy and that you'll be supportive as well. We come thanking you for all of those and asking that you will be with all those that have request prayer today. Forgive me for omitting some people's names. You know who they are, dear Lord. Please give us all the strength, the health, and the courage to continue to walk this Christian life. Forgive us of our sins, that we may overcome them, things that we struggle with, that we're weak. Build us up. Give us the strength to overcome those things that we struggle with in our lives, because we know you have overcome the world. We love you, dear Lord, and we need you. Be with us throughout this class. It's for your son's most precious name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. So we're on lesson 4 yet again, when faced with the loss of a spouse. We started this on last week, and we got through a few pages of it, but it is my goal to finish this lesson today, and we will finish this lesson today. Okay, so we started off talking about, the author was saying, as a minister, one of the most difficult things that he faced is talking to someone after the loss of a loved one. And I can imagine, I thought about that, and I was thinking, it's bad enough when you yourself, go to someone that you know, but think about a minister or a preacher. Every family, every loss, every hospitalization, you call a preacher. You want him to pray for you. So he really, really it must be taxing on them emotionally, because they have relationships with these people too. But you're feeling your own personal loss, and that's all you can see because you have tunnel vision when you're going through, and I understand that. However, I thought about from the preacher's perspective, that has to be very difficult and challenging. And it talked about the anguish that one feels and the loss and the emptiness. And he talked to Sister Porter, and she guided us, guided him in the writing of this particular lesson. And she talked about steps of grief and recovery. Anybody heard of, probably a lot of us, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her stages of death and dying? Yeah, we probably know them. When I was in nursing school, I took this elective. It was called Nursing in Death and Dying. And that course changed my whole perspective, my viewpoint, my panorama, my whole outlook about death and dying. And it was a very good course, and I needed that change because it helped me to understand and to come to grips with the fact that, first of all, we all got to leave here. I didn't have a problem with that. But that each individual should be allowed to make their decision on how they go about leaving here, as far as if they have cancer, do they want chemo? My dad had cancer, and he did not want to have chemo. And I had a hissy fit. You're going to do it? That's so selfish of you. How dare you not extend your life and leave? And I was the one being selfish, but I didn't understand that until I took that course, you know, that people should get to choose. Do not resuscitate or resuscitate. If your heart stopped, should we do CPR or should we not? People should be allowed to make those kind of decisions. And I had to grow to that point. And I was so thankful for that course because several years later, actually it was 6 years later, my sister-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. And she came to me and she told me, you know, I'm usually the family confidant person. I don't tell nobody, even my brother, which was her husband, her mom, her children. Don't tell nobody. And that was a big burden for me to bear. And so I had to, you know, I was stressed at first about it. But then I told her, you know, I think he has a right to know. He needs to plan life. You need to tell him. I don't want to tell him. But if you don't tell him, I'm going to tell him, you know. So anyway, she came around and she did tell him. But I was able to help her, accept her decision and not try, she was a nurse, and not talk her out of, she decided she did not want chemo. And that was fine. You know, they said chemo would extend her life, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years. Without chemo, she'd have 1 year. She said she didn't want all of the sickness and all of that go along with chemo. And I could support her in that decision. There was a time I would have, oh, no way, you know. But I grew to the point that I could accept her decision and support her in it. And that's our role of empathy and support when people are going through. She lived in that body, and she should have the choice of deciding, you know, what quality of life she will have in that body. So I was grateful for that course because had I not taken it, you know, I would have made the same mistake that I did with my dad. But the steps here, I thought they were good, Kubler-Ross's steps of the death and dying. But in studying this lesson, I found Stephanie Kirby has 7 stages of how dealing with death and dying and how it affects you. And I think hers are very good. So I want to, first of all, go through those. Her 7 stages are, the first one was shock and denial. This is a stage of unbelief and numbness when you first hear about it. And, you know, we talked about last week, and it's true, that everybody go through different steps at different times, and you can get to one step and then revert back to another step, and I thought that was good. Pain and guilt. The pain that you feel with the loss, and sometimes guilt is associated with it. And guilt, a lot of times as a nurse that I have seen guilt, is when people, well, we know the pandemic, you know, this is just unprecedented. Everybody, you know, you take your family to the hospital, can't see them again, you feel bad about it, or they go. But the most guilt prior to the pandemic that I had seen in people was when they had to put their family member in a nursing home or an assisted living facility, and they died there. That was a lot of guilt that they had, but what I want you to know, and what I always tell those family members is, those places are a blessing if you can't take care of them yourself at home. Sometimes their care is beyond what you can give. They need skilled care. You're not capable of doing that. So to break yourself down and your body down, and then eventually have to put them there anyway, that is not good. But I'm saying, and what I would tell them is, don't throw them away when you put them there. Visit them. If they are able to get out and go to services, take them to services. Go out and take them to lunch. Let them, if they get their hair done every week, let them get their hair done and their nails, and just don't throw them away. Let them know, make them a part of family holidays and gatherings, and if they can't go out, go to them. So those places, a lot of times family members feel, and all of us are getting aging parents. My mom is 89, and by the grace of God, I am a nurse. So I would hope that she went to sleep one night and never wake up. And I think that's all of our desire for all of us. But if it does come a time, I would hope that I'm skilled enough, that I could keep her home. But anyway, these are some of the guilt feelings that people feel that are left behind. And then there's anger. We talked about anger a lot last week. And in the anger, we have to find the blessing. And the blessing, we talked about Yvette last week, how God blessed her to have her mother in her home, surrounded by all of her loved ones, her last days. She was able to nurture her and comfort her and love her and honor her and do all of the things that we want to do, where our parents are concerned. And a blessing is Yvette was able to do that with her mom. And hopefully that will give her some comfort knowing, that she nurtured her mom the way that she deserved to be treated. She was able to turn her, caress her, do all of the loving touches that we would want to do with our loved one before she died. So that was a blessing in that. And a lot of times, especially if they're sick, there's this bargaining with God. If you just don't let them die. Say you're a smoker, I'll never smoke another cigarette. Say you're a drinker, closet drinker. I won't drink another drink. Whatever, but people do bargain, to get more time. And then sometimes there's resentment. And resentment, sometimes, you could see somebody together. Like say you had a loving spouse and your spouse died. But this couple that bicker all the time and fight all the time, the Lord letting them stay here. And they don't even get along half the time. And you resent that, but perhaps your husband was ready for his mansion, robe, and crown. The Lord giving him time to get ready, So let's not resent the decisions that the Lord makes. Then depression, reflection, when we relive those bad things that happened. And lots of times there are some situations, lots of situations, when our family member is failed, by the system. And but we cannot, live there. We can't nurse that hurt. We can't curse that hurt, and we can't rehearse it time and time again. We can't, don't nurse it, don't curse it, don't rehearse it. Give it to the Lord and move on. And then the loneliness, that void that is there. But what we have to remember is what the Lord promises. Do we believe that God keeps his promises? We all believe that. And we're told in Deuteronomy 31:6, these are my go-to scriptures, I love them. Deuteronomy 31:6, that he'll never leave us or forsake us. Joshua 1:5, he'll never leave us or forsake us. Isaiah 49, verses 13 through 19, he will never leave us nor forsake us. Hebrews 13:5, He would never. And he didn't say this all these times because he forgot he had said the first time. He want to remind us over and over again, you're not here alone. I'll be with you always, even until the end of the world. So when we're lonely, we have to have these go-to scriptures, that help us to feel comforted and to know that God hasn't deserted us, that he's there with us even then. And then there's the upward turn, which is a good thing. That's when you can kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel and think, you might be able to make it, without that spouse. And then there's reconstruction and working through. Now, a lot of women, especially older women, their husbands did everything for them. They didn't know nothing about the business, the checkbook, none of this kind of stuff. Well, it could be an opportunity, and the author points out, for growth and development. Learn how to balance a checkbook, and then that will even help with a feeling of accomplishment, that you have done something, and that's something positive that come out of it. And then acceptance and hope. That's not instant happiness. That is, but what she left out of here was the God peace. But hope kind of teeters along that. And we defined hope as this steadfast, firm, earnest belief that God does keep his promises, that he cannot lie, that he has promised that he will never leave us or forsake us, and he has promised when we leave this place here on earth that we have a place that Jesus has prepared for us. So these kind of things should provide hope for us. And therefore, before we go, I wanted from there, because I'm determined we're going to finish this lesson today. We're not going to read all the things here in the book. She talked about anger. She talked about loneliness. And one of the things they said is let us always be aware of the Lord's presence. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Loneliness may consume us. However, it is not because God and his word are not available to provide us comfort. So the scriptures are designed to provide us comfort. A unique set of difficulties each one has to face, but they have to be faced with patience and courage for the job to be successful. In order to successfully go on, we have to step out of, sometimes, I tell people, people will say, take it one day at a time. One day at a time. But I stand here telling you, I've experienced loss and death. Sometimes, one day at a time is too much. Sometimes you have to tell people to just take it minute by minute. Sometimes you can't have a stride like you normally have. You tell them, take baby steps. Just put one foot in front of the other. Sometimes you can't breathe real deep. So you tell them, pant. Just take it 1 minute at a time, one step at a time, and remember that God is there. And we have to learn to lean on the Lord during times such as these. There will be times that you can only say, Lord, have mercy, because you don't have words. But the Holy Spirit intervenes for us, and he makes groanings for us, we're told in Romans chapter 8, that cannot be uttered. So therefore, we have the Spirit, we have Jesus, and we have God to lean on in addition to people. And we have to remember that people love us, and people loved our loved one. And they grieve too. So, together we form this bond that we can help each other get through whatever is going on. And so from there, anybody got any comments before we go to the solutions that brings on this adjustment period? Any comments?
I like the statement that you were talking about. We're all different, and we all, like last week, we all have different realities. Mm-hmm. And not to feel bad in whatever your reality may be. Don't let the devil cheat you. any form to say, well, that's not important, or somebody's gonna think differently of me because I'm struggling. I found that to be a situation for myself. We have to always just continue to say, if nobody loves me, God loves me. And then with the strength that Philippians 4:13 talks about, God's strength, then I pray that you can continue to say, trust other people also. Because I know she says trust God, but you have to get to the point where you trust God first, and then you trust others, in my opinion.
Yeah, we can trust that people are sincere when they come to us. You know, and empathy is something that, you know, all of us humans, that makes us different from the law of, you know, forms of life. God gave us emotions that you know, they don't have, and we can empathize with one another. Yes, Wanda.
Also, I'd like to add back on what you were saying about anger. But we do know that in the scripture, the Bible tells us to be angry, but sin not.
That's it.
So it's not necessarily that we have that emotion. That emotion can be a good thing when needed. And so, but with that, everybody has to just work through whatever stage they're in, their way.
That's it. Be angry and sin not. Anger is an emotion that God created in us as well. Just like joy and peace and love, anger is a natural emotion. Jesus was angry. What did Jesus do?
He turned over those tables.
Yeah, he was angry, but he didn't sin. Be ye angry and sin not. All right, very good. Anybody else? Solutions that bring on the adjustment period. Okay, somebody read that little area there. Bear in mind
that reaching the adjustment period will be like climbing a mountain, and all survivors will not reach the top of the mountain at the same time. Take note of the following solutions that will contribute to the adjustment period, which is the goal of all grief survivors.
all of us will not reach the top of the mountain at the same time. We may have trouble reaching the top of the mountain at all, you know, but holding on to the Lord and each other, we can have, you know, maybe they just don't have the strength to make that last step to get to the top of the mountain. But we can pull them on up there, one in front and one behind, and, you know, and there can be the light of day. So our role, you know, we talked about last week and week before and all that, how our role and responsibility is. Galatians 6:10. When their opportunity presents itself to do good, we're to do good unto all men, especially those that have faith, first of all. But opportunity, and we have the ability, we have the responsibility to help one another out. And that doesn't necessarily mean just money or whatever. It's whatever they need, be it emotional support. If you have the ability, the opportunity present itself, you have a responsibility to help your brother and sister. We're to bear one another's we're to share one another's burdens. We're to bear one another's burdens. We are to lift each other up. That's one of the things in worship. We're to exhort one another. You know, we're to build each other up, lift each other up, and sometimes just sitting there with them. And Job is a good example of that, you know, because sometimes just being there, or just say, I'm praying for you. Prayer is a very powerful tool. Prayer causes God to change his mind. When he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham went to him and had a conversation. And he went from 50 to 10, that he would spare the city if he could find 10 righteous people in 2 different cities. How many of us in here today? Just to think, it's more than 10. 2 cities, 10 righteous people couldn't be found. So God destroyed the city. How many people, if he said, in Olive Branch, if I can find 10 righteous people, I pray to God Olive Branch will be spared. Because we're here. So let us take the opportunity to do good. Let us not let that be our hindrance. Let us not stand before the judgment seat of God like the rich man did. When he did not help Lazarus, he had the means, he saw him every day, had an opportunity, would not help him. Let us not do everything right and then fall short when it comes down to serving one another, helping one another, building one another up. That would be tragic. It was tragic for the rich man, and it would be tragic for us. That was put there for us. It wasn't even in the Old Testament, that was written for our learning. This is written to us because we today have an opportunity to do just that. Okay? Trust in God. She says, trust God for, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought that's how you hear. Oh, okay. Better watch those hands. Okay, she said, trust in God. First, trust God first. Okay, somebody want to read that little paragraph?
He will never leave you nor abandon you, as Jesus said. I am with you always, even to the end of the world, Matthew 28:20. Jesus cares when you are sorrowful and wants to heal the broken heart of a soul that has suffered the loss of a spouse. God offers comfort to the Hebrews, stating, I will in no wise fail thee, neither will I in any wise forsake thee. So with good courage we say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear. What can man do unto me? Hebrews 13:5-6.
Trust in the Lord, Isaiah said, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him. And what will he do? He will direct our path. And we sing that song, I've decided to follow Jesus. He will direct your path. But we also sing this song, he will direct your path. Lost a thought. But it was another song that I thought about when I read that. It is, but we have to let him have his way with us, basically, is what it is. When we ask him to direct our path, where he leads, that's it. We have to follow. He will direct our path, but where he leads, it's our responsibility to follow. Because he will direct our path, but it's up to us. Okay, prayer.
Pray often for God's help, comfort, and guidance. Evening and morning, and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. Enlisting the Lord's help is essential in meeting our daily stresses and the challenging troubles which try our souls. The inspired writer declares, is any among you afflicted, suffering? Let him pray. David cries, cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Peter writes, casting all your care upon him, for he cared for you. Peter's soothing words provided comfort and strength for Christians long ago, and further, if we will turn our troubles to him, the same peace will come.
Amen. Those are some more of my go-to scriptures. Any comments?
I struggled with prayer for a while. Several years ago, my nephew had a brain tumor and passed away. And we prayed and we fasted and we did everything. And I almost, when he died, I felt like God just didn't listen. Like it hurt my feelings because God didn't answer what I was asking. And I struggled. I still firmly believed in prayer, and I did through all of it. But when I needed something, I would have to call my friends and ask them to pray for me because I couldn't pray because I felt like God wouldn't listen. And it's something, that's one reason I volunteer to pray so much in here, because I feel like I've got to push myself. I mean, I really believe God answers prayers, but there's still that little bit of hurt that he didn't listen to me. And so that's just, I know that prayer is so important, and I firmly believe in it, but it's something that I struggle with.
That's very true. And you know what? What we have to wrap our brain around is that God's answer to our prayer is not always yes. Sometimes it's later, sometimes it's no. But the blessing in it is that God loved him more than you did. And the thing about it is, what we need to do is what our family members, I believe, I know what my prayer to God is that God, when he take me from labor to reward, that God will give us the strength, that he will give my family, my loved ones, the strength to accept my journey. you know, strength through my journey from earth to glory. I'm okay, but my prayer will be for those that are left behind, that they won't struggle so much. And that's, yes, Lisa?
And that's a good thing, you know, listening to you say that, that takes so much strength. And thank God you do have sisters and brothers that surround you that can pray for you. Because as Sister Lee said, sometimes, no matter what stage we're in, it gets very difficult. And, you know, it could be even in not just the depth of a physical death. It could be a marriage, a relationship, anything, you know, that can get you to that point where you seem to cannot make it. But thank God we have brothers and sisters that surround us, and we're in a place where we can get there, you know, and ask them to pray for us and get us to that point where we can eventually do it for ourselves.
And that's true. And we had talked about those kind of losses before, you know, that the death of a relationship, of a divorce, is a death of sorts. It's a death of that relationship, friendships or whatever. But the blessing is you continue to pray. You see, that is the blessing. Now, Satan would have you not, but you continue to push forth and you continue to pray. And that's the thing that that can motivate you. And it does. Usually, you're the designated prayer. Heather's going to pray. Nobody else prays. Heather's going to pray. And that's a very good thing. And that's the way we defeat the devil. We resist the devil, you know, and he will flee from us. But we have to, first of all, submit to God. Submitting to God. And sometimes, you know, faith is the antidote to worry, to hurt, pain, suffering, trusting in the Lord, leaning on the Lord, having faith in God. That is the antidote. And it's something I wrote. Let me find it. Because I thought it was pretty good. I thought about it. It says, I put God, faith in God provides consolation. And it does. Because he promises that one day, because heaven and earth will pass away. Heaven and earth will pass away, but his word will last forever. So we have consolation in the fact that we can go to his word and find comfort. We have brothers and sisters to support us, and we continue to slay that giant. Every time that Goliath, prayer is your Goliath. Every time, you know, you think, and there are triggers. And death, dying, sorrow, pain, they're triggers. Things will trigger you to remember that. And that hurt, you'll feel it all over again. However, you'll remember. Memory is a blessing from God. Remember that he got you through it when it first happened, so he can now. And the thing about it, when we have hurt, be it death, be it sorrow, be it pain, whatever it is, all of us have wounds of some type. And they can be in different stages of healing. And Geraldine pointed out how sometimes, you know, people might think you should be here or there. And think of it as a wound. Sometimes it may get infected, you know, and that's going to start you back over to day one, and you got to go and do it again. And if you don't have a wound, guess what? You got a scar. You got a scar from some kind of hurt that you have had in this life. And that scar reminds you of the pain that you felt. However, God delivered you. And that scar can motivate us to grow because God allowed that wound to heal. And now it's the scar. And so we know that God is able to get us through whatever come our way because we trust in his promises. He cannot lie. And we see over and over, Psalms 136, I love it. It says, from verse 1 to verse 26 in the New King James and King James, and his mercy endureth forever. Yes, ma'am?